My husband is the priest of St Cyprian's Church and he's the curate.
It should get you back here for lunch.
And I got a job with the Diocese as the Net Zero Carbon Support Officer, which means that I'm responsible for supporting all the churches across the diocese in locating funding to help them decarbonise and move away from gas heating. That is primarily driven by a General Synod decision that was to try to get to net zero carbon by 2030, which is obviously a very ambitious goal. With active knots and walk knots today, we're focused on the city itself, and therefore St Cyprian's was the most obvious place to complete a walk.
Is this somebody's garden? You could put a bench in here.
We now are doing a wide-ranging scheme where we're trying to ensure that the church can function and be fully warm and as useful to the community as possible using decarbonised heating. So they are currently having surveys taken to ensure that they can have a full solar PV array. They're going to have batteries. They're also going to have, we hope, air source heat pumps. So yeah, we're looking forward to it going forward, but it's taking a lot of time and a lot of effort. And so in the meantime, we're trying to do as much ecologically and sustainably as we can, all the way from making sure that all the tea and coffee is fair trade to ensuring that we have sustainable flowers and plants that we can then plant out in the churchyard like you see here. Part of what we want to do is encourage everyone in the congregation to be as active as possible for their own health and obviously for the planet as well.
There were signs, I think, at the beginning.
Most people, not everyone, but most people live close enough to be able to walk to church, but we're also concerned about their own health. Many of them are slightly older and therefore need to be out in the fresh air and keeping themselves active. We're hoping to prevent falls. We want to support Sarah at Walk Knots in being able to provide walks they can do straight out of their door or straight out of the church door, as well as ensuring that they're using their cars as little as possible. So today we're doing the Big Parish Walk. It has many purposes, one of which is to identify those walks in our parish that might well cover people's front doors so that they can walk to and from church if they don't already know those routes. It's also about mapping the environment so that we can see how easy it is. We have several wheelchair users and scooter users. How easy is it for them to use the paths and the roads around the church and in the parish as a whole?
Well, even today I've gone up and down some of the drop curbs, and there's a bigger drop at the end of it. There's like a 2-inch drop before it hits the road, and they can really jolt me. And if you're going up them, you almost come to a standstill where they hit the 2-inch up before you go onto them, and that's concerning to me. I'd like somebody who fits them to actually ride it in one of the chairs to try and get a smoother ride.
And where there are green spaces and places where it can be sustainable, where there's bees and wildlife and places for children to play, those sorts of things. And so we're hoping to make a map of the whole parish. Everybody's got a clipboard and a little guide of where they're going to walk, and we're going to try and ask them just to write down the interesting things they find in the environment as they move around.
I'm not sure, but I think it's probably owned and maintained by the City Council, but it's a great pity that it isn't used by the public, because there could be footpaths through and a few seats.
One of the things is to start to understand our parish a bit better. This is a church that hasn't had a vicar for 11 years. It's a long period of time to be without that kind of leadership figure. And I think partly because of that, there's a sense of understanding what the church's role is, and maybe the streets around it, but understanding the whole parish, the whole area that we have a certain degree of responsibility for. And then understanding, what else we can do to support the community and the ways that they can support us in our ambitions to be net zero.
I can only walk so far, so I use a mobility scooter or a wheelchair. I like to know where I'm going and know that it's all on the flats so that the battery isn't going to drop because I've gone up a slight incline. And I just like to feel safe on the scooter. So when we've come to that footpath, that tilted, then I get off the scooter because I feel as though I'm going to topple over.
One or two of them walk already, but they walk relatively short distances. There are a number who live not too far away who could make that change from car to foot. And seeing them walk the space and seeing just how short the distances are, it's rather like that thing in London where you first go to London and you always travel by underground, and then one time you decide to walk it and realise that actually the distance between that stop and the stop isn't as far as you think, so maybe walking would be a better solution. I think being able to just have an opportunity to try those things out, certainly as we approach the summer, might, at least in these warmer months, change some habits. So I met Sarah from Walk Notts as part of the Carlton Hill Action Group, which principally focuses on the Christmas light switch on and the big summer fete, the fair, on the recreation ground. But they're also highly important in joining together lots of peoples from disparate communities, groups, organisations, churches, other faith groups, to say how can we come together to make this a better place for everyone who lives here. And so finding a way through the Carlton Hill Action Group and Walk Notts and Sarah to do that has been really helpful in seeing how the church can break out into the community and how the community can take full use of this immense asset.